Ladies and gentlemen, my name is David Kendrick. I am your favorite Purple Heart veteran, owner of Lion Speaking Agency, and it is October, which is Disability Employment Awareness Month. And I'm going to give a little speech. Well, not a little speech, just a small little talk. I do give keynotes about this while I'm on stage, about being disabled myself, getting into the workforce as a employee with a disability, and then my work on the other side, managing and trying to find jobs for people with disabilities. So let's go ahead and get into it. I was injured, shot by a sniper, June 17, 2007, and it left me permanently disabled, both mentally and physically. The bullet, it shot in my left leg. It caused a bunch of nerve damage. I got hit my sciatic nerve, so the toes of my left foot don't move anymore. The Army put my leg together the wrong way, so I have a bunch of muscle atrophy in my foot. I had about 18 surgeries to repair my leg, including a Achilles lengthening surgery, because I had so much muscle atrophy in my left ankle, I could barely move my foot at all. I could move it just enough to walk, just up and down. So I had a procedure called Achilles lengthening procedure or surgery back in 2018 to just help me with my range of motion in my foot. But let's talk about me getting out of the Army. So this injury, as a result of this injury, I did get out of the Army in 2010. It was a bunch of different factors that contributed to that. The unit that I was in, my mental health, my physical health, and not knowing exactly what I could offer the Army as an individual with a disability. Even though I was only 20 years old when I was injured, I got out when I was 23 in 2010. I moved back home to Rochester, New York, man, and I was struggling looking for a job because I served as a Cavalry Scout in 19 Delta, which is very, very, very intense combat operations. And those skills have no use, well, they had no use as a civilian because I couldn't fight anymore. I could have done something, well, if I wasn't injured, I would have done something like be on a SWAT team or obviously stay in the Army if I didn't get shot. But so a scout in the civilian world will be like a police officer, somebody on a SWAT team, maybe private security. A lot of us go back and become private contractors, things like that. So I couldn't do that anymore. So I struggled to try to figure out what I'm going to try to do. Excuse me. So over the summer of 2010, I went to this this temp agency at Deco, right? And I said, I need a job. I have a disability. And I need to work. Well, let me back up a little bit because there's something that happened before that. I applied for unemployment from New York State, and they sent me back this paperwork. And I'm going to link a blog to this because I wrote a blog about this with this exact paperwork. They sent me back this paperwork saying that your DD-214 states that you are disabled. In order to be eligible for unemployment, you need to be willing and able to work. I was able to work, but I was willing to work and able to work. I just didn't know what I was able to do because of my disability. The Army was the only job that I've ever had, and I didn't know what I could do as a civilian. And there was a lot of factors why I couldn't fill out this paperwork because I got this paperwork from the New York State Department of Unemployment as soon as I got back, because I think I applied for unemployment before I left, and I got this paperwork. I didn't even know how to get a doctor in the civilian world. I didn't even know where to go to get this physical. I was a first generation veteran. My dad couldn't help me. My mom couldn't help me. So I didn't even know where to go to get a physical. So I got hooked up with this company at Deco. To end that story, I didn't get the unemployment and I struggled because I didn't have any income for about 2 months after I got home. Then I started going to this company called Deco, and they said, well, what can you do? What do you know how to do? And I said, I don't know, but I just need a job. So I got a job where I'm from. We have two big companies, Xerox and Kodak. I got a job at Kodak, working in this factory. This shift was working in the factory. I was a temp, and we had 12-hour days on a 4-day rotation. So I used to work 2 days, 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. I get a 24-hour rest period, and then I work 2 days, 5 p.m. to 5 a.m., and then I get 4 days off. You have to wear steel toe boots in this job, and you have to stand the entire shift. I did this job. My first day on the job, I knew this was going to be a problem, and I didn't know about ADA law at the time. Now I have this injury to my foot, my leg, but my foot took the majority of the damage. It's had to wear steel toe boots, and my toes don't move on my left foot because of my sciatic nerve injury. And I had to stand 12 hours a day in these steel toe boots, and I was just dying on this job. I was dying, but I continued to do it because I'm a temp and I don't know anything about ADA law. I didn't know that I could tell them I need I need a modification. And I was so desperate to work and just get back on my feet and start my civilian life that I just sucked the pain up. Me being a veteran, serving my country and everything, I didn't exactly know what benefits were out there for me. I didn't know how to use a GI Bill. I had no mentors, no counselors in my family, in my city to help me out. So I'm working 12 hours, killing myself, killing my toes, killing my feet at this job. And since I'm a temp, they treated us like dog shit. Hey, do the work. And they would like watch us in the break room, make sure that you don't go over your break or stuff like that. So eventually I left that position and I got into the program that I mentioned a lot of my videos, the Warrior Salute program. And they gave me a job in a spice factory on Blossom Road. And then it was time for me to see the other side. I became a production supervisor, and it was my job to supervise individuals with disabilities. And so my guys on the Spice Factory floor, they had disabilities like autism, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy. Some of them were blind. Some of them couldn't use their hands. Some of them couldn't walk. But in the Spice Factory, we had a big, really big production floor, right? And it was my job as a production supervisor to monitor my guys and help them with their individual service plans, because this job was set up for these individuals to work on the Spice Factory floor, and then we come up with a plan to see what skill sets they have and how they would translate out in the regular workforce away from the program. So, man, I saw everything that individuals could do, things that I didn't even think they could do. I saw modifications at this job that I didn't think would be made possible. And the example that I use very often is on the on Spice Factory floor, you have like 5 different production lines, and on my line, you will have somebody who was strong enough to lift a 50-pound box, throw the bag of spice in the hoppers. And we had like black pepper, ground, any spice you can think of. We will box and ship that across the states and to Afghanistan. So who's strong enough to lift that box? Okay, because a lot of jobs and warehouses, they have they on a job description, they have constant bending. You need to be able to lift 50 pounds. That's a restriction that these guys didn't have. And then who knows how to tell their numbers? Who knows how to read? Because you have to weigh the bottles. So who knows how to read? Because some levels of autism are different. You on the spectrum, you have high functioning and then lower functioning. So I would find somebody who knows how to read and who knows how to tell their numbers, who knows how to tell that 16 ounces is 1 pound, or who knows that when you see more than 1 pound that goes in a 1 pound bottle of black pepper, to pour some out and make sure that that bottle isn't over 1 pound. Because in the regular world, you're going to be costing the company money if you're putting 2 pounds of a spice in a 1 pound bottle. So I'll write up on the plan, okay, Brian knows how to tell his numbers and things like that. Then at the end of the production line, if you had somebody that couldn't read, but what we would do is put like little colored dots on the box, right? So let's say that we have black pepper, the person who can lift 50 pounds, they put it in the hopper. The person who knows how to tell their numbers and knows how to read spice bottle labels, they put the black pepper labels on the black pepper bottles. And then the person at the end of the production line, they're getting the finished box. So six bags or 6 bottles of black pepper or whatever spice is. The box comes to them taped up, but they may not be able to read. So when they're holding the box, they can't read that it says black pepper. But what we would do is put a green dot on that box. And then they would know, and I would tell them at the beginning of the shift, you're going to be working black pepper all the way until lunch. So they know, okay, well, the green dot goes with the black pepper. And then at the end of the production line, we will have pallets. So one pallet for salt, one pallet for pepper, one pallet for cumin, and each pallet will have a different box or a different dot, a different color. And they would know, okay, I can't read that this says black pepper, but I know that this box with the green dot goes on the pallet with the other box with the green dots on it. And that's how we will make these different modifications for my people with disabilities in the Spice Factory floor. And it made me feel good about myself because I thought to myself, man, I never knew that individuals with disabilities can work like this, or modifications work like this. And for me, this was a job that I didn't need a modification for because I didn't need to wear soft show. I didn't need to wear steel toe shoes. I could wear regular tennis shoes. And as an individual with a disability, managing these other individuals who were born with these developmental severe disabilities, man, it made me feel good about myself. And it made me feel like David once again. Now I'm going to fast forward to here in Atlanta, man. I got a job down here as a case manager for a company that finds jobs for individuals with disabilities. And then I saw another side of ADA law. I learned even more about ADA law and how modifications and things like that work. So I was a case manager. I had about 30 people on my caseload. And every time I get a case, I would do an intake with an individual to find out what is your disability. We had a form we would go through and I'll put everything in on the computer. What's your disability? I would get with their family members to see if they have a resume. What I loved about this job, some people wanted to go above and beyond, man. So I had people with business cards. Some people had their pictures on their business cards and things like that. With severe disabilities, but they wanted to be productive members of society and they wanted to work. So as a case manager, I would sit down, let's say, I would meet Kimberly. Hey, Kimberly, first of all, what type of work do you like to do? Because these jobs, they don't want handouts. A lot of people, they want more. They want a job that means more. I will have people on my caseload that say, I don't want to just be the person at Kroger pushing in carts. Just because I'm disabled, I get stereotyped into these jobs that people check a box and think, okay, I checked that box. They want to do something easy. And they don't. They don't. I had people that said they wanted to work for the CDC. They wanted to work for Coke. They wanted to work for Emory. And just all these jobs that they've been told their entire life they can't do because they're disabled. So I would get a resume, and if they didn't have a resume, I would make one for them depending on what they're doing in school and just things that small things that they like to do. And then we would have job fairs come into the building for these individuals so people can see what these different jobs have to offer. I would write up letters and talk to their parents about what I think this person would be good at doing and seeing if the individual on my caseload wants to do that. Because the most important thing for individual with disabilities, they don't want a handout, man. They want to work, and they want to work in an environment where they know they're going to get paid and that they know that they're going to just do something that fulfills them. And when it comes to the pay, a lot of my individuals, they come in, they may be on Medicaid or a plethora of different type of government programs to help them out and help out in the house, but they still wanted work that meant a lot to them. So to wrap things up, man, with my individual disability story, it seems like a lot of people don't know about ADA law, and I was in a position like a lot of other people that I know because I've experienced this in more than one job. They're afraid to speak up for themselves, man. So never, never, never be afraid to advocate for yourself. That's why, I call my business Lion Speaking Agency, because I realize a lot of people are afraid to lose their jobs. They're afraid that, hey, my manager is going to think I'm just complaining. When you have a legit physical or mental disability that's keeping you from doing your job to the best of your capability. So never be afraid to advocate for yourself, man. And if you're a government contractor looking for people who are looking to go to work, fill a contract for you. I used to be on the speakers bureau for a company called Source America, which gives government contracts to individuals with disabilities. And speaking for them, man, it meant the world to me because I was able to show these government contracts and other government entities that people with disabilities, first of all, we don't have a certain way that we look. Some of them is as fine as me. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's somebody with a disability, you don't know how they look, you don't know what they're going through, and you don't know what they can do for your organization. So, ladies and gentlemen, my name is David Kendrick. If you want to find out more about me, visit me on my website, www.dkendrickjr.com. Leave me a comment down below if you ever experienced somebody with a disability having issues getting into the workplace, or visit me on my website. Leave me a message, and let's talk about me talking for you.